Yes, I mean, it was a very difficult decision to make, but I think I'm making the right decisions for my own health reasons. I'm very clear, this is my decision and I want to do it on my terms, but I have had a very small stroke. It's only a small stroke, but it does affect my balance, it affects my speech, and at times I get very, very tired. And the advice I've been given is, look, I need to do some really intensive rehab. So my plans are for the next 6 months, because I've never had any time off work other than a couple of weeks for annual leave in 40 years. My sick leave can count on one hand. So I wanted to do intensive rehab for 6 months, and then I'll make a decision about what I want to do afterwards. But I still feel I've got an awful lot to give the world of healthcare, internationally and in the UK, and even in the future if I can contribute to Gibraltar. And so I want to get back to work, but I need to do rehab and I need to look after myself for a few months.
Can you just tell us what sort of GHA you found when you got here, and what sort of GHA do you leave behind you? In other words, what have you achieved in your time here?
So I genuinely believe the GHA is a really good organisation, and I think in Gibraltar we should be really proud of the healthcare that we deliver. It is outstanding healthcare when you look at it against any of the international comparators. I think when I first came, it needed quite a lot of love and attention, and I hope what I've done is not only develop services and improve services, but to tighten up in terms of financial controls, to tighten up in terms of clinical governance and safety. We've developed some new services such as the cath lab and the new oncology services that we're developing, but I hope more than anything else I've shown the organisation that you can have a different type of leadership. You don't need to have a frantic leadership where people are shouting at one another. You can have kind, considerate leadership, which is what you need in healthcare. You need common sense, you need calmness, and you need kindness in everything that you do. And I hope that my leadership style, which is understated but is behind the scenes and is servant leadership, is really starting to take a hold in the organisation.
As you mentioned in your statement, all health services around the world face challenges. What would you say are the biggest challenges faced here at the GHA, and what have you not achieved that you would like to have done before you left?
So I think without doubt the healthcare market worldwide is facing an existential crisis in terms of staffing. We're just simply across the globe, we're not training enough doctors, nurses and AHP staff, and we're in an international competitive market for staff. And so that's going to be the biggest challenge about how do we move forward. So I think it's really important in Gibraltar that we look at a long-term strategy. How do we use the staff that we've got? How do we develop our own staff? And I think the big piece of work now is to have a proper workforce strategy that can be built on the digital strategy that looks at how we can attract staff from across the globe, but most importantly, how can we develop the local workforce? And that's the bit that we've started, but there's a lot more work to do.
Well, talking about the local workforce, the advert will soon be going out, presumably, for a Director General to replace you. Is it possible that that position could be filled internally?
I think we'd look at all possibilities. I think what's important is we get the right person at the right time to take the GHA forward. I think we've got a fantastic organisation. I think we've got a really good legacy to hand over to somebody, and it's important that they take the GHA forward now and look for that long-term strategy. Invest in services, invest in a local workforce, really think about the digital strategy and how we're going to use AI. My hope is it will be a local person, but I think we have to cast the net far and wide and get the best person. And what I've agreed with my minister, who's been incredibly supportive throughout my tenure in post, but particularly over the last few months, when we've been talking about my particular position, I want to help her in terms of getting the right person in, and I'm committed to the last day. I'll be working right up until the very end, and then hopefully handing over to the person who's the best to take the health services forward.
Your wife also plays a key role at the GHA. Given your personal health issues, do we take it that she too will be returning to the UK with you?
Yes, we're going to go home together. I think it's important. We have absolutely loved our time in Gibraltar. It's been an utter privilege to serve the Gibraltar population, to work in the care agency in the GHA and trying to develop services. We've had the most wonderful memories and will only sing the praises of Gibraltar from the rafters. It's been a wonderful experience for us. But we came as a couple and we were clear on that, and then we're going to go home as a couple.
And on a final note, hopefully after your 6-month rehab period, you will feel better, and you said that you would like to go back and work in the health system. Could we see a return to Gibraltar?
I'm absolutely ruling nothing out, and we've made so many good friends and colleagues since we've been here. We've agreed that both of us are going to support some colleagues through coaching and mentoring even when we're back in the UK, and my hope is that I make a full recovery and I then can contribute to health in the future in whichever way possible. It could be in Gibraltar, it could be worldwide, it could be back in the UK. We rule absolutely nothing out.
And any concerns about continuity here at the GHA? Obviously, the previous Director General also had to step down early for health reasons. The same, unfortunately, is happening to yourself. Does that concern you, the continuity?
So I think what I've tried to do in the last 2 years been here is build an executive team and build a leadership model that's not reliant on one or two individuals. It's about dispersed leadership. So I think the people that we've got here and then making the right choice to replace me will see the GHA going from strength to strength. So of course there's going to be some concerns when somebody senior steps down in any organisation, but I'm convinced we've got a strong enough leadership structure, we've got some brilliant people within the GHA, and you know what, it will go from strength to strength. And I've always taken the view in the roles and senior leadership roles, they're not your roles, you're simply a custodian. You're there to do, for a period of time, the right things, and then you hand over to somebody else. I've been here for 2 years, hopefully I've made a positive contribution, and now it's my time to hand over to somebody else who will come in, take the baton and take it forward even stronger.